House of EdTech, Episode 2. Hi, this is Christopher Nessie, host of House of EdTech, the podcast that explores how technology is changing the way teachers teach and the impact that technology is having in education. My objective is to discuss the technology that is changing our classrooms and schools. You can count on House of EdTech for information you can hear about today and use tomorrow. Because whether you use it or not, technology is changing the way we teach and how our students learn. Well, everybody, it's been 2 weeks since the premiere of House of EdTech. If you missed it, make sure you head over to mr.chrisnessie.com, and at the top of the page, click on House of EdTech, and you can check out Episode 1. You can also subscribe to the program via iTunes or whatever reader or audio player that you prefer. Wow. Episode 2. I wish you could all be here to see the Episode 2 cake that I have prepared to celebrate this milestone. There is no cake, but I am still very excited at the newness and freshness of the program, and I have a very exciting episode planned for today. So, what are we going to do in the next 30 minutes or so? I'm going to give you the EdTech thought. I am going to talk about, and really this is related to my app and site recommendation for this episode, and I have the first ever House of EdTech VIP. But first, let's get into my first interview. Let's go to the tape. Let's get right into the first interview ever on the program. I'm going to bring in a very good friend of mine who's waiting patiently on the line. I'm going to bring on my good friend, Mr. Alex Rosenwald. Alex is a science buff. He has an undergraduate degree in chemistry from Drew University. He has 2 graduate degrees, one in secondary education as well as educational leadership. I'll have him talk about that program a little bit and where he went. He has over 10 years of experience in education, 8 years in the classroom as a science teacher, as well as a teacher technology facilitator, which is one of the reasons why I'm bringing him on. The man loves technology and education, just like myself. He also has spent the last 2 years as a K-12 science supervisor, and he currently resides in the Cherry Hill district here in New Jersey. He's an avid tech user in both his personal and professional life, and I'd like to bring on Mr. Rosenwald. How you doing today, Alex?
Thanks for having me, Chris. I'm feeling good. I'm doing well.
You're into technology, and now you're a supervisor. Talk a little bit about what it means to be a connected and tech-savvy educator and how you view that.
Okay, well, I'm going to answer that question both in my experience as a teacher and in my experience as an administrator. For me as a teacher, being tech connected, I felt that it was important that I embrace technology for 2 reasons. One, because it just enhanced my own practice. I was able to, take advantage of all the amazing tools that are out there on the web. But at the same time, I felt like it gave me a better connection with my students. Being savvy with technology and being up on, the cutting edge in social media and web apps really helped me with connecting with my kids. When I was looking for a way of opening lines of communication and developing better lines of communication with my students, and this was back in 2008, I said to my kids, well, would it be helpful if I started a Facebook page for our class? And the answer was a keresounding no, which to me was very surprising. And they said, if you want to get in touch with us, you need to get on Twitter and you need to get on Instagram. So I feel that being tech savvy helped me communicate better and be a more effective communicator with my kids. At the same time, same thing, I had said something about setting up an email listserv to show you how, old school I think. And my kids said to me, Rosenwald, we don't check email. If you want to get in touch with us, find a way to text our phones. And so I started using Remind 101, which is a phenomenal tool for, being able to send out mass messages as a means of communicating. And I found that the messages that I needed to get out to them and the information that I needed to get out to them was, reached them in a more meaningful way. So as a teacher, being tech savvy helped me develop those lines of communications and maintain them. As an administrator, it helps me be connected with the wide world of educational leadership. I mean, I'm a Twitter follower. I'm a Twitter evangelist. Guys like Will Richardson, who had come to in-services, and I'd been at in-services with him, espoused how amazing it was, and I never really grasped that until about 2-3 years ago. But it really is a great tool to see what other school districts are doing in the advent of Race to the Top and park assessments and all these crazy mandates that are coming down from the government. It's an easy way for me to get in touch with other administrators throughout the state, across the country, to be able to get a sense of, what's going on in their districts as well. So being a connected administrator lets me expand my worldview, because it's easy for me to get trapped very much in, well, this is what we do in Cherry Hill. It lets me, keep a wider sense of what's going on in the educational world.
I heard a lot of fantastic things in there. Remind 101, ways to text students, the death of Facebook in terms of use with students. When you say that you like to be connected, but besides Twitter, are there any other tools that you use to make those connections? What else did you use with students, and what do you use perhaps with your faculty, the people that you oversee now?
Twitter really is my main method of social media for professional use. I mean, personally, I'm still on Facebook. I've started dipping my toes into Instagram a little bit. But for me personally, Twitter really is the way that I tend to keep in contact with, my fellow educators. I'm a big blog stalker. I don't really comment too much on blogs, but I like reading blogs. So the death of Google Reader, it was a sad day when that happened. But I've transitioned over to Feedly, which is, for my purposes, it's cross-platform, so maybe I'm able to pick it up on my laptop or my iPad or or my phone, depending on what I'm doing. But I like Feedly to keep on top of my education blogs and my blogs I'm interested in personally. In terms of keeping in touch with faculty, really, in my capacity, in the way our infrastructure is set up, we, I just use email. It's an easy way of keeping in contact with them. It's easy because I have my phone connected. It's the first time as an administrator I've had my phone connected to district email, so that's an interesting change in the position that I'm in now. But it's, I tend to stick to more traditional modes of communication, simply just because I'm a district supervisor. When I was in my previous position in West Orange, I would use text messaging because I was, more connected on the building level with the teachers. So especially at the high school, if I needed to get in touch with them, I would text message. But in my current capacity now, I'm pretty traditional with straight email.
What type of technology do you encourage your staff to use?
Sorry. Keep
going.
I was
just say, what do you encourage them to be connected, and what are they using in terms of how they integrate with the science curriculum?
Okay, technology and science really go together. There's really amazing, things out there, from everything as simple, I think as simple as something like Google Docs, which, I really promote among my faculty, to, there's so many different web applets for science that are out there that are either, professionally put together, they're independently, developed. I would like my teachers to be more connected. I've run in services on Twitter, both as a technology facilitator when I was in the classroom and as an administrator, espousing the need for connectivity and being able to talk to, expanding your network. I use that term a lot. And again, I've stolen that from people much smarter than I am. But, I really embrace that. But I can tell you from my own personal experience, I find that, some of my less tech comfortable teachers either aren't comfortable putting their personal information out there, which, that's a whole nother discussion. Also, it's a wide ocean. So dipping your toe in doesn't necessarily give you the impact. I mean, I'm able to send out a message and get responses immediately. I've worked with people that have shown genuine interest, but then, they'll be like, hey, I'm working on a Civil War unit and I need some feedback on, Gettysburg and how you teach it. And they don't get any reply back because they haven't gotten themselves immersed yet. When I jumped into the world of social media, I got onto the EdChat conversations. I talked with people. I sent responses back all the time to people. So I got my name out there. I think that answers your question, right?
If you could just be a little more specific about what type of software or apps do your teachers use, where you are right now in terms of what are they integrating into the curriculum? Not so much being connected, but what do they have the students use?
It depends on the classroom, simply just because it's really based on the teacher. We don't have any, large scale mandates. From my office, I have teachers that use Google Docs for developing collaborative lab reports. I'd like to see that, spread out more. I've had them present on best practices department meetings. There's a phenomenal website called PhET. It's physics and chemistry simulations that's done through the University of Colorado. That a lot of teachers in my departments use. We have a lot of proprietary in-house, stuff, things that we've bought from Pearson. We through subscription. We have, Discovery Online, the Discovery education videos. We have a subscription to that as a district that our teachers use, the streaming video. We have, subscriptions through Scholastic. We have subscriptions through National Geographic. A lot of, informational resources, videos, multimedia, things like that, is the primary, and that's really more at the lower grades, from K to 8. We're using a lot of that. At the high school, though, some of the more involved teachers are getting into things like, like I said, like Google Docs. I know a couple of classes, are very much into, especially the environmental classes. I know they use Instagram to, take pictures and broadcast stuff. That's neat. I like seeing that, those teachers, push the edge of what they can do in the class. And I've had teachers say to me, can we do this? Can we do that? Not in my own district, but a friend of mine did a great lesson with vines, and he had his kids creating vines. And, I would love to see something like that, moving forward.
It seems like you are facilitating great things in your district.
I'm trying.
You do as much as you can.
Yeah, well, it's, I only started a few months ago, so I'm still trying to get the lay of the land. But, technology infrastructure and integrating technology, that's one of my big, it's a big priority for me. It's one of my core beliefs that, we need to make sure, that we need to make sure that we're using and we're teaching kids how to use technology, and not just at, the high school level. In the position that I'm in, I'm going to be able to work with teachers at K to 12, on how to use technology to improve, in my context, science education. But, if I can show them how to use a good tech tool for what I want them to do in science, there's no reason why they couldn't then transfer that over to their math or their ELA. So
I think that about sums it up. I mean, should I stop here after episode 2?
No, I listen. I think very highly of you. So no, I don't think you should stop here after episode 2. You just have, I'm very tech oriented. So, answering your questions isn't that,
That's why I brought you on there, Mr. Rosenwald. Well, we're coming up. I promised I would only keep you for about 15 minutes. So how can people connect with you? Promote yourself a little bit.
On Twitter, I'm aRosey, AROSEY. Yeah, that's pretty much the main way of getting in touch with me. I'm not my internet footprint isn't as big as I'd like it to be. If you do have any questions, though, you can find my email information through the Cherry Hill, New Jersey website. If you do a Google search for Cherry Hill Public Schools, you'll be able to search for me and find my email. But I'll say it's aRosenwald at chclc.org if you feel like reaching out, if you have any questions. But, Twitter and email are the best way to get in touch with me. And look forward to talking to everybody.
Mr. Rosenwald at aRosey, thank you so much for coming on the program. I appreciate it. And since we're good friends, I will definitely have you on the program again.
It's no problem. My pleasure, Mr. Nessie. My pleasure.
And we'll definitely delve into more technology and science here on the House of EdTech. Thank you very much, Mr. Rosenwald.
Thank you, Mr. Nessie.
I'd like to say thank you again to my good friend Alex Rosenwald on Twitter, @ARosie. Very happy that he agreed to come on the program. He is super knowledgeable. He loves science. And I do appreciate that he took some time out on a Saturday morning to come on to the program with me when I called him up. So thank you again, Mr. Alex Rosenwald, for being on the program. Let's get now into, and I still don't have any stingers or anything fancy to segue from different parts of the program, but I am working on it, and hopefully this will become, still more polished as I do more episodes. So let's go into my next topic. And very simply, today I'd like to talk about learning management systems. What can we do to put our classes online? We teach in classrooms. What can we do to make our content more accessible? What can we do to provide more opportunities for our students to be engaged with our material? One of the ways that I like to do that is with a learning management system. Now, there are two that I have experience with, and one that I just found this past week that I'm going to talk about today. Two that you've probably heard of. One, Edmodo, very popular company that allows you to set up your classes, give your students accounts, and present your course material in a way that looks very similar to Facebook and takes advantage of the fact that our students are using social media, and a site like Edmodo kind of looks like Facebook. So there's a certain level of comfort with using a site like Edmodo. Edmodo has really changed over the last couple of years in terms of what they have available. Being able to do online quizzes, integrate with things like Google Docs and other online storage sites, incorporating things like Quizlet and a bunch of other different sites that let you kind of enhance the learning and kind of put it all in one place and put a nice bow on it. A few years ago when I found Edmodo, I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread in terms of, wow, this is cool. It was better, and I still think it's better than Moodle. It has a nicer interface, obviously, because it looks like Facebook or any other type of social media type site. And then I found Schoology, and I found Schoology and said, Schoology is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I used Schoology in a middle school, and the kids really took to it. Parents took to it, and what was appreciated about Schoology and even Edmodo is that it goes back to what I said last episode, making the walls of your classroom transparent. How can you continue the learning with your students beyond that 42-minute, 47-minute, or block scheduled period? How can you limit the excuses with your students? How do you give them access when they're homesick? How do we keep them, and I'll use the word again, how do we keep them connected? How do we connect them with us as teachers? How do we connect them with the material? And, in these environments, how can we connect the students with each other? And Schoology takes that to another level that I personally prefer over Edmodo. I think Schoology looks more sophisticated. I think Schoology would be great for, even college level classes, in terms of what your profile looks like, the fact that you can do threaded discussion and, again, do the integration with Google Docs. Just in my experience, Schoology, I think, provides a little bit more sophisticated experience for the teacher and, more importantly, for the students. Then I find this week, something called Canvas. And Canvas can be found at canvas.instructure.com. And I would rank Canvas and Schoology, in my opinion, 1 and 1A. Canvas has a very simple user interface for the teacher in terms of how you set up your course, what you can provide your students in terms of assignments, the grade book, a calendar, their profile, threaded discussion. But what I really liked about Canvas, and I've started to correspond with some of their representatives this past week, is their commenting feature. Canvas allows you as the teacher and also the student, you can leave your comments for assignments and other aspects of the website in video form. So if you're using their tablet app, or you're using it on a phone, or even on my laptop as I was playing around with it this week, your webcam will turn on and you can leave video comments. And I just thought, I currently think that this is really cool and a new way to engage and give feedback, rather than, you think when I was in school, comments were left in red pen in the margin and your papers got all marked up. Now you have the commenting feature in something like Microsoft Word, where it's on the side, it's in the margin, and you can get some really thorough feedback from your teacher. But sometimes you read the words on the page, or you read the words, that maybe the teacher still handwrites, and something like Canvas comes, and now I can hear the words, and you can express yourself as a teacher in a different way. And I just think that's really cool. Some of the feedback I'd like to get from all of you is, what learning management systems are you using? Have you used Edmodo? Have you used Schoology? Are you familiar with Canvas? I would love to get your thoughts on learning management systems. And again, you can leave the feedback. You can get me on Twitter at Mr. Nessie. You can go to my website. You can leave me a SpeakPipe message. Email me. You can call the hotline, 732-903-4869, and leave me some feedback about learning management systems and what you do. What is your favorite learning management system? What LMSs? What features do you like? What do you wish some of these sites would offer? Do you get turned off when the LMSs have really great things, but then all of a sudden you have to pay? And, it started out free, and now it's not free. Or they want a little bit of money, or, whatever the case may be. What turns you off about some of these sites and services that are available out there? As you all know, and I will continue to reiterate, I do prefer free, and, you can't go wrong. I'm sure there are certain things you could do and get that are bad that are free, but it's worth trying and checking out. So that's my EdTech thought. Learning management systems, and my app recommendation, site recommendation for this episode is Canvas by Instructure. And again, you can find Canvas online at canvas.instructure.com. Check them out. Let them know what you think, and let me know what you think of them. And now it's time for the first ever House of EdTech VIP. And that goes to, and I would like to insert a drum roll here in future episodes, congratulations to one of my newest PLN member and internet friends, Miss Teresa Steger. She is a first-year principal, and you can find Teresa on Twitter at Principal Steger, Stager. I have met Teresa through the Principal Cast podcast, which is a weekly roundtable discussion that takes place on Sunday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find the program on the website principalcast.com. She co-hosts this show with Dr. Spike Cook and Principal Jessica Johnson, and they run this weekly podcast through Jeff Bradbury's TeacherCast.net network of podcasts. She's a first-year principal, as I say. She's on Twitter. She uses technology in her school. She's a fantastic digital leader, and she's a great person to know and connect with. So please connect with Teresa today and tell her Mr. Nessie says hello. And there you go. my first House of EdTech VIP. Who will it be next time? I know the suspense is killing you as much as it's going to kill me. But in 2 weeks, I will highlight somebody else who's doing great things with technology. And that's going to do it for the House of EdTech. I am Christopher Nesi. You can check out the show notes for this episode at mr.chrisnesi.com/2014/houseofedtech2.html. Keep the conversation going, please. Join me on Twitter at Mr. Nesi and use the hashtag HouseOfEdTech. Visit my website, mr.chrisnesi.com. If you have any questions or comments, leave a SpeakPipe message on the website, or you can call the show hotline at 732-903-4869. I would love to hear from you, so again, please keep the conversation going. Thank you for listening, and remember, using technology isn't difficult. Just give it a try.